Good morning.
Good morning.
Wow, what a good morning, huh?
Yeah.
We've had great music, and we've had great sharing, and in a little while we're going to have a great lunch together. So now all we have to do is survive the sermon. All fine. I got to start by saying I didn't choose the passage this morning. That we use this thing called the lectionary, and it gives us these readings. So I didn't choose the story of the prodigal son because I knew that the Voices of Hope choir was going to come. I would never do that. Well, I might, but that would be a really bad day. And I was really tempted actually not to use this parable at all because I felt really bad about it being here. But then I read it again, and I realized that, that it's not really the parable of the prodigal son. Right? And we know that because, right, so what usually happens, well, anyway, let's start somewhere else. So we know it's not the parable of the prodigal son because of the first verses that Joshua read for us. Right? So Jesus is hanging out with the wrong sorts of people. Jesus is hanging out with the tax collectors and the sinners. Don't you love that phrase? Tax collectors and sinners? Right? It's such a West Virginia phrase. Right? What did we used to call the tax collectors in West Virginia?
Revenuers.
The revenuers. Right? Them horrible revenuers. And Jesus hung out with people like that. And all the good people knew, well, you shouldn't hang out with people like that. So the Pharisees came to him and said, Jesus, you're hanging out with the wrong crowd. You should be hanging out with the good folk. And so Jesus told them a story, which means he told it to the Pharisees. So this is a story about the Pharisees. And in the story of the prodigal son, right? So the story of the prodigal son is about, the little family, and the younger brother, he goes away, and he has a party, and he has a great time, and then he runs out of money, and then he comes back, oh, I'm a terrible sinner, Dad. Right? And then his brother comes in from the field and goes, hey, what's this party all about? Right? And in that story, right, the tax collectors and the sinners are sort of the younger son who goes away and has a good time. And the older brother is the Pharisees, is the good guys. And that's who the story is told to. So this isn't the story of the prodigal son. It's actually the story of the grumpy older brother. That's who it's for. The reason we don't think that is because this is a story that's told to us by people like me, by pastors. And most of us are the grumpy older brother kind. We're the ones who were good. We're the ones who've been working hard. We're the ones who stayed in church. Right? And so we want to tell the story about somebody else out there. We don't want this to be a story about us, so we misinterpreted it deliberately. Because it's not in our best interest to do it right. But this is the story of the grumpy older brother. But still there's a question that doesn't get asked often enough, and that is, why did the younger son leave? And the story doesn't really answer that question, but it gives us some hints. So when the older brother comes back, he says, what's all this party going on? Right? Why are you so happy about this guy? I've been working so hard. I've been working like a slave all of these years, and you've never, ever given me a party. Well, honestly, if I was living in that sort of household, I'd be tempted to leave too. Really? I mean, if this is what Dad is like, why would you hang around? Why would you stay there? And then you got your older brother, right, who's going to get the majority of the land anyway, so he's got some reason for hanging around. But the younger brother, he's going to get, leftovers. Right? And the older brother is still, even though he's going to get most of that, he's grumpy about this. So the younger son, he's got a dad who's not treating him very well, just making it work, and no fun at all. And he's got an older brother who's doing all the work, but he's grumpy about it. It's no wonder he left. Makes perfect sense. Right? And it's also no wonder that the older brother is grumpy. And one of the problems with having a story like this read, and interpreted by people like me, the grumpy older brother kinds, right, is that we're grumpy too. And so we do things like this, right? right? We want to do celebration. We want to celebrate the joy of being God's children and being reconciled to God. So what do? We sit in uncomfortable pews and listen to sermons. Is that usually what you do when you have a party? You go, hey, let's gather all our friends together. Let's sit in pews and listen to sermons. Yeah, no, right?
Preach it, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Right? And this is one of the mistakes we make in churches, is that we have way too many services and not nearly enough parties. But again, right, we do that because churches are run by grumpy older brothers like me, and this is my one thing I do, so I gotta sort of build that into the service every week, or else, like, why are you paying me? Right? I like my job. So this is the story of the grumpy older brother, and the lesson is for me and for people like me. And the lesson is, yeah, you've been working hard all of these years, and you've been good, and you've been watching everybody else having way more fun than you are. And now one of them's come back, your dad's having a party. So you've been good all these years, and someone's come back, but you don't have to be a jerk about it. It's okay that somebody else went away and had fun and came back. That's a good thing. You should celebrate too. And finally there's a party at the house. Why don't you join in? Why don't you join in this celebration rather than going off somewhere and, being grumpy? The older brother doesn't have to be grumpy. He's going to do fine in the end. And Paul says this too. Paul says, be reconciled to God. But what's odd about this is that he's writing to a church. And he's not telling the church, oh, by the way, your neighbors aren't reconciled to God. He's telling the church, you still aren't there yet either. Right? This isn't a message just for the folks out there, the great unwashed, and the people who aren't as good as we are. This is for everybody. This is for the church. Be reconciled to God. And then, right, as you're doing that, because this is an ongoing process, you're never going to get there, right, but you're going to get closer. As you're doing that, he's given us, all of us, the ministry of reconciliation. And again, we tend to make that the message of reconciliation, something we're supposed to tell other people. But it's the ministry of reconciliation, which means it's something we do. It's something we are. Right? We are to become one community together. That's what the ministry of reconciliation is. The message of reconciliation is me standing over here talking to you. Right? This is the message of reconciliation. I can stand here and talk to you guys all day, and you can sit there and go, yeah, blah, 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 whatever, when it's lunch. Right? But the ministry of reconciliation happens when we actually sit down and eat together. That's the ministry of reconciliation. Right? So this is the ministry that God has given us to try to form one people together. Right? And it's not like you guys are coming in and we're all like just the same. Right? We're a different group of people long before you got here. Right? And we, in some ways, some of us work pretty hard at being different. Right? Yeah, it doesn't matter what the norm is, we're not going to be like that. Right? That's okay, right? But, right, that's the trick. How do we make, out of all of these different people here and all the rest of the different people in the neighborhood, right, how do we make one people? How do we all get reconciled to God and to each other? And we've been doing a lot of that this morning, and that's great. So my background comes from the Mennonite church. And in the Mennonite church, there are two basic ways of being reconciled. Right? And the first way, two basic ways of creating community. And the first way is to sing together, not being sung to, right? We're not much into performances, but we're into singing together. And the second is to eat together. So let's do the singing.